like you mentioned, the divide between the rich and the poor right now. Middle class is going away. What are you doing to be strategic? What are you doing to invest, Josh?
Nothing. Like personally right now, I am leveraging what eXp is provided to us. And I just got to a fed up point in my career of just seeing the agent always lose. So if you look at what's going on right now, it's the most unaffordable time to be alive as a US citizen in recorded United States history. There's two primary things that I'm seeing why people are getting ripped apart right now. Is number one, there's a reason why NAR settled, why all the big players out there settled. I think that's a big deal. But at some point in time, they're going to want to retire. Like if you think about this, okay, if you can get rev share to cover all your living expenses, and then every single cent that you make in your real estate commissions could be invested in real estate or another vehicle, it just accelerates the path to building wealth. I've never seen anything like this in my 20 years. I tell my wife every single day, she gets sick of me saying this to her, but I'm like, man, I wish to God I would have been intelligent enough to open up my mind enough to really give this model a fair shake 10 years ago, because our lives would look so much different. The market's always good for somebody. There's transactions happening every single day, always has, always will. People are always buying and selling real estate. And then when I look at this, I never operate from, is it a good market or a bad market? The market's always good for somebody. As a real estate professional, it's our job at the highest level to identify whom the market is good for. I know exactly, okay, how many reach out. So with our average inbound lead, it's 60 reach out, 6 conversations to 1 appointment set. So when I get that Facebook lead coming in, okay, I know I'm going to trigger an autoresponder email, autoresponder text, put them on my 1,000-day email text strip campaign. They're going to start going on our mass broadcast emails, which is 5.5 broadcast emails a month. They're going to get set up on popular, and then I'm going to start my calls. So I'm going to call them that day, every other day for 14 days, and every 21 days for the first year.
Joshua Smith, okay, you are one of the few people in our industry, this sounds really bad, that I think really, really highly of. And I think it's because, so when I first interviewed you years ago, I was legit blown away by your stats. First of all, when you sent them over, and you've been an agent since 2005 and have sold at that time over 7,000 homes, and your GCI at that time, this is not volume, GCI was 4.7 million for your team the year before. And so the list is so long, but for me, I love the fact that you're also, you were at one point morbidly obese and you lost 100 pounds. And now, like, dude, when I see you every time, you're just like rock solid muscle, and you have like that 8 to 10% body fat. So like for me, I love that. And then also the family man part. So like, it's cool to see you, because I feel like none of this happened by accident. And I want to dig into some of that, in a little bit. But first, there's an elephant in the room. And there was a major change that happened in your business since the last time we talked. And Ali and I are both so curious about what deciding factors, what decision points led you to joining EXP? Because I'm seriously, both of us are like, wait, what?
Yeah. I
And
don't think
also,
any.
hey, welcome.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And I don't think anybody's more shocked about the decision than myself. I always tell people, like, look, I think there's probably not a human being on this planet that talked more crap about EXP than me. And I will honestly say that the first 5 years, because I've had awareness of this model for like probably 10 years. The first 5 years was just me being naive, me dismissing something that I really had no idea of exactly how it worked. I just thought it was like this Amway of real estate. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I didn't think they were going to make it. And that was just, out of me being naive and not giving, the model a full shake, full understanding. The last 5 years, like, I knew it worked. I had friends that were just absolutely crushing it there. It was just more ego, it was just, I want to do my own thing. I couldn't get beyond ego. I don't want to build under somebody else's umbrella, but a couple things started happening. Number one, all the lawsuits that were taking place, and I was just seeing, a lot of people don't hear this in the, public square, if you will. But I had numerous friends that ended up having to, were forced to sell, forced to shut down because they were above the NAR threshold, that own their own brokerage. And it was like, hey, look, they just didn't have the pockets to go out there and fight these DOJ-backed attorneys. And I know they give NAR a hard time, but it's like, there's a reason why NAR settled, why all the big players out there settled. And just looking at this, I'm like, man, I'm 43 years old now. Do I really want to go down this path and have to reinvent the wheel again? And then the other thing, so there was that, and I'm not one that really operates out of fear, but that was something that was kind of heavy on my mind, of just risk allocation. But then I also got to a point where so much of my time was spent, throughout the day, throughout the week, where I wasn't able to do the things I loved anymore. I was spending so much time on managing staff and behind the scenes stuff, and just legalities, and like the part of the industry that I really love is production, and then coaching, training, and supporting my agents. Well, it got to the point where I wasn't able to do, like, 90% of my day was allocated to things I hated doing. So the biggest question I get asked is, well, how did you get recruited into EXP? I'm like, nobody recruited me. I'm not saying that over the years people didn't try. I'm saying that when, the teacher appears, when the student's ready, when I was ready, it was, I was seeking for a new model, right? Seeking for a place where I could essentially build a brokerage inside of a brokerage, remove the liability, remove the headache of the staff, be able to focus and allocate my time into what I really love doing. So it got me just searching other models. And then it quickly became obvious to me that EXP was the best model on the planet, for what I wanted to do. And just, no, I'm 100% drinking the Kool-Aid, so for anybody that's watching this, you guys could take this with a grain of salt. But, once I decided to really take an objective look, remove my ego, and really assess this model, yeah, it's just, I've never seen anything like this in my 20 years. I tell my wife every single day, she gets sick of me saying this to her, but I'm like, man, I wish to God I would have been intelligent enough to open up my mind enough to really give this model a fair shake 10 years ago, because our lives would look so much different. The other thing too, that I've got, look, I had a team, and on the brokerage side and all these other, hats that I've worn, but we all start off as real estate agents, and I still look at myself and kind of operate from that lens of the real estate agent. And I just got to a fed up point in my career of just seeing the agent always lose. It was like, okay, the team leader kind of wins, the broker owner always wins, but the agent always loses. I had a friend of mine that just partnered with us at eXp the other day. He's been doing this like 30 years. And he said to me, he goes, Josh, he goes, I've been to a lot of real estate agents' funerals, but I've never been to one of their retirement parties. And this is the only vehicle, well, I shouldn't say the only, there's some, other kind of copycat models out there, but in my opinion, hands down, the best vehicle that not only allows us to keep more of a hard-earned money, from a production side, and with all the support coaching systems. Again, I've never seen anything like this. Like, the support just blew my mind right out of the gate, the training, the coaching, everything that they have, the splits, like, it just sets us up in the best possible position to crush it with production, but then gives us the chance to become owners and build equity. And then if you want to take advantage of the rev share, I know that's not for everybody, but it allows us for the first time ever really to go out there and create an exit strategy. And I look at this isn't to brag, it's sad. Okay, I've sold over 7,000 homes. I got all these awards and accolades sitting in my garage collecting dust. I can't take those and cash those into the bank. I can't do anything with them, right? And over here, not do we don't get, awards and accolades, but we get stock options, and and again, I think it was just a timing thing in life for me, because now that I'm 43, I'm married, got 3 kids, I started thinking about, 10 years ago, I wasn't thinking about this stuff, but I started thinking about, hey, what if I go jump on the freeway today and I get, in a bad car wreck, and this is the end of the journey for me. Like, my life, not only is my, wife and kids without a father, but financially their life totally changes. I'm like, I've got to make sure that my family's protected, and we can go deeper into that. I mean, there's so many reasons, why, but that's what kind of got the wheels turning and led me here, and hands down, best move I've ever made.
The ego part is the one that I resonate with, and I also feel like is a factor for a lot of people, where, especially because you have done so much on your own, it's kind of like, I don't need someone, I don't want to build someone else's brand. I don't want to, just like you said. But so I think it's really cool that you made the decision, looked at it, took a step back, removed the ego. Question about why EXP versus the other ones that are popping up. Is there a main factor? Is it a bunch of little things? Like, what's the reasoning there?
Yeah, there were quite a few. So first off, I'm like, okay, and look, I'm not a hopper. I've been doing this 20 years. It was my first company, first 10 years, second company, the second 10 years. And so, but I wanted one last home. I'm like, if I'm going to make this move, I want one last home because because I love real estate. I plan on doing this until God takes away my ability to do so. So whether that's 30 years, for however long that is. Luckily, I got into real estate at a pretty young age. But I'm like, okay, I need a company that if I'm going to build, instead of building my own thing, if I'm going to build inside of a company, like I need a company that's in a financial position that I have confidence is going to be here for the long haul. So when I started studying financials, EXP hands down in the best position of all of them, right? 100% debt free, multi-billion-dollar market cap, only publicly traded real estate company at 15 straight quarters of profit, where pretty much every one of our competitors is still losing money hand over fist. And that isn't a dig at our competitors. Like if you look at where eXp was at the stage where our competitors are at, we were losing money at that time too. But the difference is we didn't have the headwinds. If you look at all these other companies, they got eXp plus all these other competitors to deal with, so I'm like, well, I don't want to roll the dice on that. So financially, from a financial perspective, I'm like eXp is in the best position, not just of any of these, kind of similar competitors, but I think of any real estate company I've really seen. So you've got that. Then as I'm interviewing leadership team, I know leadership team's not important to everybody, but to me, it's really important. It sets the speed of the whole entire organization. And you're talking with Leo and talking with, Amy Weaver. I mean, all the leadership team. I mean, just the shared vision, the speed that they operate by, the caliber. I'm like, dude, it was just unmatched. And then from there, one of the big things for me was with a lot of these other competitors, there was kind of two other like huge factors, right? Okay, like, let's just look at Real, and hopefully it's okay for me to name drop. Because look, I have lots of friends at Real. I think it's a great company. I think it's amazing. But I started looking at them and they're like, well, Josh, you cannot offer all the coaching, training, mentorship that you have. You cannot offer it to those that you bring on. You either got to offer it to the whole company or nobody. I'm like, well, how can I offer to the whole company if I'm not getting compensated? Because they have daily access to me. I go so deep into my people. But then you're telling me that, okay, if I have something of value that I can offer my people, offer my, my agent partners that choose to join with me that can greatly impact their business, you're telling me I can't, number one. Number two, you've stripped away my whole entire unique selling proposition, where then why would somebody join me versus, their friend? If it's all the same, like it just makes it where then, okay, I can't build it the same way. And so that was a big deal breaker for me there. And then there's other little factors like a lot of these, okay, you got to do a minimum, amount of production on an annual basis to get your rev share. And look, for a lot of people that are still in production, they don't think that's a big deal. But at some point in time, you're going to want to retire. At some point in time, you want to be done. And I'm like, well, that just kind of strips away the whole, element of the retirement strategy, and then just, from the support, the systems, the tools, the training, the camaraderie, and then too, it's like, look, my whole entire career, I've always believed in success through osmosis. So I like to be a part of like where the top of the top are at, and I got to a point where I was like, look, I was this big fish in a small pond, if you will. And I was like, dude, I want to be, thrown out in the ocean where I'm forced to become a freaking killer whale, to become a, right. Or, whatever. And you just look at the top of the caliber that's at EXP, top team leaders, top individual agents, top rev share earners. There's just absolutely zero comparison, so that, I don't know, I could go deeper into many other things, but those are the main, reasons that got me to choose this versus the other vehicles.
When you when you started opening up your mind to it, where did you go originally to get the resources to find out more about this?
So there's a gentleman named Leo Pareja who is our, amazing CEO, who's been one of my closest friends in the industry for about 15 years. Now, Leo is in a position where he doesn't need to take on a CEO role. He can be set for life. He's got young kids. I know how important to him his young kids are. He's hands down. He's always been light years ahead of all of us. Like I met him back. We won the 30 under 30 together, like back out in like 2011 or something like that, right? So we go out to Chicago. I meet with him. He's the number one Keller Williams agent in the world at that time. And, we're sitting down for, I don't know, about an hour at this mastermind having a conversation. And it just became very obvious to me, like there's different levels to stuff, right? Where I'm like, okay, this dude is at a whole different level. So, I've watched his whole entire journey of building the number one team in the world, exiting from that, building the number one private lending practice in the East Coast, exiting from that, building Remind, having a great exit from that. And again, he is just, there's a lot of brilliant people in this industry I haven't met, so I'm not taking away anything from them. But for me personally, and I have met a lot of people, he's hands down the most brilliant dude I've ever met, in real estate. And when I saw him take on the CEO role, I'm like, all right, dude, there must be something I'm missing. Yeah, right. And again, I was already seeking this, journey. But then from there, got on the phone with him. I'm like, all right, Leo, like, what am I missing? Because when you go to, people don't realize when you become a CEO of a multi-billion dollar company with 2,500 plus staff members, like, dude, that is a toll on you and your, right? So I'm like, for him to jump into this at this stage of his life with young kids, and like, he must see something brilliant here, so had that conversation with him, and then I just started interviewing. I mean, again, I have a lot of friends there, top producers there, top, builders there. So I just started kind of, having as many conversations with, those that I truly, respect, that I've known for a long time, your Chuck Fazios, your Curtis Johnsons, people that I've known for, well over a decade that, were extremely well respected, that I considered mentors, and just started, picking their brains.
What would you advise for someone who doesn't have Leo Pareja's phone number to do some research?
Well, I mean, that's the great part about this is, look, I mean, they can jump on the phone with any of us, right? Like, we all know the model. I don't want to say as well as Leo, but like, we all know it extremely, extremely well. I will say that, you know, a lot of this too was, yeah, I was blown up like so many people. And I get so many people that are like, oh, Josh, I don't want to have a conversation. It's EXP. I've had a million people reach out. I'm like, yeah, I did too. And I was the biggest hater about it. It kind of helps because we have that camaraderie of, we got so sick of, like, I had people that I knew that I wouldn't consider friends, but acquaintances, where I ended up blocking their numbers because they blew me up so much about this model. you know, um, and it wasn't that, look, I'm a sales guy. I like to be sold, like, sell me. But like, okay, like, once in a while, maybe ask about, like, how's my wife and kids doing before, like, I just got to a point where I felt used, and so many people were just slamming down my throat, and really coming at this wrong of like, oh, Josh, like, like, you crushed over here, like, versus like really understanding what my goals are, what I want to create, and then taking the time to really unpack how this vehicle might possibly be able to help me with that. So I think a lot of it was I was sold in the wrong way, you know. But I mean, to answer your question, I mean, anybody can reach out, to me, to you guys, because here's the thing with all of us. I know we all have this in common: is everything we do is zero pressure. So like, when I'm talking with anybody, it's like, hey, I'm not here to try to recruit you. I'm not here to push you, pressure you. I'm just here to walk you through everything that we do, how we work, how we operate, answer any questions that you have. And look, if you feel this is a great vehicle for you, awesome. If not, that's okay too, because it might not be for everybody. But then now I was talking to my wife the other day again about this. I'm like, I get why people sold it in the way that they did. Not saying that that's the right way to sell it, but I'm like, I feel like I got the cure to cancer. And I'm trying to get all these people to take this cure for free. And a lot of times they'd save money, make way more money. And like, I'm trying to get people to take this cure to this deadly disease, but they won't take it. I'm like, and you just want to shake people sometimes, but you can't sell it that way. Like, you can't, you know, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah. And the timing actually, so when I read that you joined us, I forgot how, I think it's maybe a workplace, doesn't matter. I was like, no way, Josh joined eXp, dude, that's dope. So add that plus the timing of what eXp now has as co-sponsorship. You and I have already partnered on 3 and 1 pending of sponsoring agents together. They're all on the newer side. So I want to talk further about that. Like, you having joined, what you offer, how we have co-sponsored these agents together, what it looks like for the agent that is looking to join, but then also co-sponsoring with like other broker owners. So that way there's more leverage from the broker owner where they don't have to do as much training because EXP already does so much. Then plus, I don't want to get too far in the weeds right now. I always do with these questions.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
But yeah, let's talk about co-sponsorship.
Yeah, I don't know if you just got the email, but we just had another one this morning with my good friend April that I just brought on, that added you as a co-sponsor.
Oh, amazing. I haven't checked my
So,
email yet.
you know, um, so the analogy that I heard somebody say, which I thought was really good, is it's like having two parents versus one parent. Where historically, like, okay, a model like this, you have to choose a sponsor. So then in this, so it's always before of like, oh man, I love Shelby, I love Ali, but I also really like Josh. Well, before it was always you had to make a choice. Now we can collectively all work together, and it gives the ability to, add you guys as a sponsor or co-sponsor, me as a sponsor, co-sponsor, I know that gets a little confusing, but it gives them the ability to have your full support, all the coaching, training, amazing stuff that you guys offer, as well as all my coaching, training, and support. Doesn't cost them any extra. Also, how eXp set this up is so brilliant. At first I didn't kind of get it, didn't understand it, but again, Leo's just way smarter than me. So, but I'm so glad that they set it up this way. Because like a lot of our competitors have co-sponsorship, they split the rev share, so it gets diluted so fast, especially as you start bringing people in. Well, how they set this up is there's no dilution of it. Right. So like you guys get full rev share, I get full rev share, which means then, and not that we would do otherwise, even if it was split, like we'd still pour into our people in the same way, but it gives us the same full incentive, even as if they didn't add a co-sponsor, where you get full rev share, I get full rev share, doesn't cost them anything more. So it just gives another added layer of support. And like I'm telling everybody, when I have a conversation with everybody, there's multiple different ways to go about sponsorship, co-sponsorship. Right? Like you can look at it so some people, it makes sense to have that local support system. So example, like I just brought in a new gentleman in Michigan, where I'm like, okay, look, dude, I can teach you how to get to 1 deal a month, to 2 deals a month, to 5 deals a month, to 10 deals a month, however big you want to scale this. Like from a coaching perspective, I can get you there. What I don't know is I don't know your local market. I have no idea how to run comps in your market. I have no idea what the best neighborhoods are. And I have no idea, so let's go find, a seasoned, maybe an icon agent, a seasoned agent that knows your market inside and out, that can be that support system in your market. So now you have that full local market support, and then me as your coach. So for some, that can make sense, right? Others, that maybe like as an example, not saying that I don't want anybody to have this thought or idea. Like I love working with, I don't care if you're new, seasoned, whatever. But for those that I'm really going after to, like personally investing my time to go after, are typically much more seasoned agents, right? Team leaders, brokerage owners, and seasoned agents. Where then we can look at this from a perspective from a coaching standpoint. Okay, hey, here's all the things that you and all your agents get, within my ecosystem, but what's missing, right? Or based on their strategy, based on their skill set, based on, whatever that they're looking for to go out there and build. Okay, now we can partner, you with this other coach or this other person that maybe offers something that's complementary, so we can offer them the most support possible.
Before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about how this is the most challenging market, most agents have ever seen. Because especially with not most people haven't been around since 2005, like you. So what do you think agents need to be doing to set themselves up for success in the waters that we're treading now?
If you're on a 50-50 split, it's time to rethink your brokerage. At eXp, the split is 80-20. And once you cap, you keep 100%. We show you how to get there faster. I'm Ali Garced, or Ali the Agent. My sponsor, Shelby Johnson, and I each close over 40 deals a year. We are full-time agents actively producing, and everyone in our upline is an icon agent. When you name us as a sponsor at eXp, you get full access to all of our systems and checklists and templates, our 200K GCI playbook to help you make 200K your first year, direct mentorship and direct access to us, no huge group calls. We also help agents add another stream of income, which is rev share. We will help you with all the tools and trainings you need to build revenue share that will help you retire early. If you're interested in building an actual business, book a call at theagentgoldmine.com.
Yeah, and I will say that this is the most challenging market I've ever seen. This is, in my opinion, my experience, this is way more challenging than the great financial crisis. I mean, I have good friends, good mentors that have been in this industry, that have been, top producers for 50 plus years. They're like, we've never seen anything like this. So if you look at what's going on right now, it's the most unaffordable time to be alive as a U.S. citizen in recorded United States history. So no time since 1776 has it been more expensive to just be alive and operate life. And then from there, when you look at because of that fact, when you look at the market, transaction contraction, we have the lowest level of home sales that we've seen since 1995. But if you look at 1995, you had 78 million lesser Americans, and you had a third of the amount of realtors. So this is probably the worst, contraction that we've seen, maybe since the Great Depression, even maybe more so. We don't have a ton of, great accurate data from the Great Depression. And one of the things, like with the great financial crisis, is it happened fast. right? And then also is a deflationary period of time. So yeah, people were losing their homes, but things were so affordable. People could, buy those homes and afford life. And, now it's the opposite, man. And we're seeing the middle class just get decimated. We're entering a time where, it's the haves and have nots. We probably may never see a middle class again for the rest of our lives. The middle class was born during the Industrial Revolution. Now we're going through deindustrialization, tech, AI, information age. There's just not the same need for the middle class. So it's really becoming, you're either, again, the haves, the have-nots, the mega rich and the poor. And what's been interesting with this because of that is, when people either making more money or they're either, getting richer or they're getting broker, right? So when you look at certain luxury markets, like the luxury markets are staying pretty strong. This is why, like, when we see stats of like, oh, the median price point, right, or average price point, market seems to be holding strong because, like, okay, in my market, like any of the middle class zip codes in Phoenix Metro are just getting ripped apart. But then you got Paradise Valley, which is the 5th most expensive zip code on the planet. Like there's, it's where you got $30-40 million homes selling. Like there's still multiple offers. That's staying strong. So it's a unique dynamic. So I will just say this, that people need to understand that just like in all of life, but in business, there's times of peace, times of war. So let's call it 2012 through 2022, longest bull market in recorded history, longest economic expansion in recorded history, longest real estate expansion in recorded history. That was a time of peace. And during times of peace, like as Warren Buffett says, when the tide goes out, you see who's skinny dipping. Well, in times of peace, you can kind of skinny dip, right? Like you could kind of show up, you could kind of be consistent, you could kind of work, you could pretty much just wing it and go out there and make multiple six figures. Well, those days are gone. And they might be gone indefinitely. I don't know if we'll see where this goes. I'm very confident in the fact that things are going to get much, much worse before they get better. I don't have a crystal ball. That's just my thoughts. Anybody can take what they will with that. But there's two primary things that I'm seeing why people are getting ripped apart right now. Is number one, they're still winging it. They're not treating their business as a business. You have to be a great operator in this time. So what do I mean by treating your business as a business? Okay, you got to have extreme clarity on what you want, why you want it, why it's important to you, right? That what you want is the goal, why you want it, why it's important to you is the purpose for the goal. I've never seen anybody create big success and sustain that success, that didn't have a reason and a purpose for why their goals must become a reality, because that's what pushes you through the bullshit. Right? Like I talk to people like, oh, my goal is just to be happy. I'm like, well, that's a dumb goal. I mean, I get it from somebody that used to, be massively depressed. Like I get why somebody would want that goal, but I'm like, look, if you're a healthy, emotionally regulated human being, there's 8 emotions that you're going to experience. So you're going to experience happiness about an eighth of the time. Right? The only reason you experience happiness is because you also experience sadness. Right? So you have to have the ability to push through the bullshit. Look, more often than not, I don't want to get out of bed. I am not motivated to do a damn thing. I don't want to do any of this most days, more often than not. But I do it anyway. You got you have to have the ability to push through your emotional state and show up and do the work. I mean, commitment and success is only reserved for those that are truly committed. Commitment is showing up and doing the necessary actions that you must do regardless of your emotional state. So I don't give a shit if you're depressed, sad, feel like crap, feel happy, right? Feeling cloud nine. Like it doesn't matter. Like you got to show up and do the work anyway and learn how to control your emotions. So again, getting extreme clarity on what you want, why you want it, why it's important to you, then identify the best strategy plan with precision to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. So when I say with precision, like you need to know every single day what you must do to go out there and win. So if you're showing up at the office and you're like, okay, I'm going to work hard today, but then you have to ask yourself, well, what am I going to do? Okay, you're just winging it. You've already lost that day. Like you're already losing. Like you need to know, hey, here's exactly what I got to do every single day to win. Here's my KPIs. Here's my numbers. Then from there, so we got, strategy plan to make sure that we're, the right proven plan to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. Then you've adopted the right skill sets to execute on that plan, then tracking processes, systems. So that's what I mean by treating your business as a business. So if you're just winging it, you're going to continue getting delivered a ton of pain. The secondary factor is people are still playing too much defense, right? They haven't pivoted yet to strategic offense. So defenses, we're just waiting for shit to come to us. And again, 2012 through 2022, you could do that. Right? There's enough low-hanging fruit, whether it be lead sources, right? Or just past clients, sphere of influence, repeat referral business. You got transaction volume down about half of what it was back then. You got about half the people that used to be able to partake in this real estate market that no longer can or willing to. So with strategic offense, it's twofold, right? So strategic means identifying whom has the highest probability of needing your services. So I talked to so many agents. They're like, oh man, I'm doing all this lead gen, all this lead follow up, but nobody has motivation. I'm like, okay, you're targeting the wrong people, right? Sales is pain and pleasure. You got to, and this is just human behavior. You got to identify people where their current living situation is so painful enough that their current living situation, the pain that they're experiencing outweighs the pain of the change. If the pain of the change outweighs the pain of their current situation, they will stay put. So I need to identify, okay, people that are in most pain. So let's just say I'm going after sellers right now, okay? Yeah, we got expires and FSBOs. I don't know their pain, but they've raised their hand, right? Then from there, okay, people going through divorce, right? Most unaffordable time to be alive as a human being. Number one reason for divorce, financial hardship. Divorces are on the skyrocket, probably them needing to sell that asset, as they go through this life transition change very high. So okay, I'm going to target people going through divorces, target absentee owners, probates, people 30 days plus late on their mortgage, like who is experiencing those pain points that has the highest probability of needing our services. That's what I mean by strategic. Then offense means, okay, we're not waiting for crap to come to us. Like we are going after it. What can we do where our fate is in our own hands? So like, okay, I mentioned divorce, which is our number 2 best listing niche right now for new client acquisition on the listing side. So I get a lot of people when I talk about divorces saying, oh, Josh, well, didn't you go get relationships with divorce attorneys? I'm like, okay, you can go do that, but that's still playing defense. So for me, no, I'm playing offense. Like I'm going to get the data. I'm reaching out to them direct where it's like, hey, I do X amount of dials, have X amount of conversations. That's going to equate to X amount of listings taken. Like I'm going to play massive offense in this market where my fate is 100% in my own hands. So, treating your business as a business, playing strategic offense.
My question is, what are your thoughts on content and social media when it comes to the 2 pieces of advice that you get where we have to, people are still winging it and they're playing too much defense. And I know that we just talked specifically within the defense realm about like the offense, going out and targeting. So where does content fall in your thoughts, plans, whatever for now and into the future?
Yeah. So, look, I'm a huge fan of creating content creation, and look, you can even though something's inbound, you can still play you can still play offense with that. So like okay, like in our Zillow department with our team, like okay, that's like okay, those are inbound lead sources. Right. But we're still very heavy on our tracking. We can still do different things to maximize conversion rates. And so, like with content creation, I don't want anybody to think that offense just means, cold calling or outbound prospecting, right? So like, here's an example with offense, right? So, okay, I still run a lot of Facebook ads, paid Facebook ads. But then, okay, I've had to, um, targeting has changed greatly. Like meaning, okay, before, because here's what I want everybody to realize and know is because when I talk about these things, if okay, things are going to get worse before they get better, I don't want to operate from a place like fear porn. Like the market's always good for somebody. There's transactions happening every single day, always has, always will. People are always buying and selling real estate. And then when I look at this, I never operate from, oh, is it a good market or a bad market? The market's always good for somebody. As a real estate professional, it's our job at the highest level to identify whom the market is good for, pivot, shift, and adapt accordingly to whom the market is good for. So, okay, I've been doing Facebook ads very, very heavily since 2015. Now, one of the big differences, I used to do a lot of local ads. Well, local ads, okay, our prices, we went from being the 5th most affordable metro in the United States to now the 5th most least affordable. So a house that's maybe, $750 today, 6-7 years ago was like 300, right? So like locals and incomes haven't kept up. Incomes are still about the same. So locals are like, screw this, they're priced out of the marketplace. So what's changed is, okay, not the vehicle. I'm still doing inbound Facebook leads, but my targeting has changed tremendously. So like an example, like I've identified, okay, what are the top 10 reload states? What are the top metros within those states that people are reloading on my market? But then even doing a deeper dive of, okay, who is our market an extreme win for? So if you look, okay, San Francisco Bay Area is an example, which is, one of our better places for running ads. So our average person that's reloading from San Francisco Bay Area is in a 100-year-old house, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot house that they're selling for, I don't know, 1.5, 1.6, sometimes 2 million, right? They're selling that. They're able to downsize financially, buy something in my market for 800 grand. That's brand new, gated community, safe, feels like a mansion to them. Like they're blown away. They're like, I cannot believe this is a reality. Yeah. Right. So to them, it's a massive win. So I'm going to pivot to, again, who our market's a win for. But then from there, okay, we're going to track, we're going to measure. Like I know exactly, even though it's an inbound lead, how to play offense with that. Like I know exactly, okay, how many reach out. So like with our average inbound lead, it's 60 reach out, 6 conversations to 1 appointment set. So when I get that Facebook lead coming in, okay, I know I'm going to trigger an autoresponder email, autoresponder text, put them on my 1,000-day email text strip campaign. They're going to start going on our mass broadcast emails, which is 5.5 broadcast emails a month. They're going to get set up on property alerts, and then I'm going to start my calls. So I'm going to call them that day, every other day for 14 days, and every 21 days for the first year. That frequency exists till I get them on the phone, identify their goal, identify their timeline, then it adjusts accordingly. So I'm still then getting back to your area, let's just talk about content that isn't paid, organic content. Right? Still, okay, like who are you creating content for? Like getting extremely clear again on who your ideal client is for this marketplace. So here's another example. 2012 through 2022, we were representing a ton of big institutions on the acquisition of investment property side. We were moving 20 plus properties every single month, just helping investors buy properties for rentals. Okay, 2022, interest rates are going through, or the Fed overnight rate goes up, which, a lot of these big institutions are, getting either a direct line to the Fed or getting, their money from Goldman Sachs, which the overnight rate, and I know the overnight rate has nothing to do with mortgage rates, but for them, it does, it matters. So essentially, it was like a halt. It went from like 20 acquisitions a month to, hey guys, we're putting everything on hold. So then with that, we pivoted to, okay, now that we're experiencing cap rate compressions for the first time in multiple decades in our market. So rents are coming down, evictions is way up, rents are, suppressing at a pretty rapid rate, about 10% year over year, rents are coming down. Then you got prices coming down, but we got hold costs going up. Right. So if they want to sell at or close to peak pricing, but do so before, the situation gets too ugly. So, okay, if that is one of my ideal clients, okay, I need to be creating content that caters to them. Right. So like one of my agents years ago, now she's one of my top YouTube agents in my team here, agent partner now at eXp with me. But this was like, I don't know, maybe 2021. Right? She's like, well, I want to really get into YouTube. I'm like, okay, well, we got to first identify who we're going to create content for. She's like, well, I love first time buyers. I'm like, okay, you could be the best person in the world at working with and converting and supporting first time buyers. But I'm like, at that point in time, there's nothing under like 500,000 in our market. I'm like, we just can't serve and support them. Like we need to change your avatar, who you're creating that content for. So, we want to get very clear on who we're creating the content for, but then track and measure everything. Okay, how consistent are you creating content? Okay, based on, okay, you do a YouTube video, what does that translate into with number of, not just views, but number of leads, number of, appointments set. So we're tracking it. So then from there, like I can then know exactly how many YouTube videos I need to be creating on a, weekly basis, a monthly basis. That's going to result in X amount of, clients and closings, right? So you can still play offense even with inbound strategies. We just got to be extremely intentional with them.
Okay, that makes sense. And I have a quick question on the ads. I'm super interested in the fact that you are running ads for the top relocation states markets. That's very interesting. What do those ads look like? Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, you got to know, like, we just want to reverse engineer this. So, like, what is it that they want? Right. And this is the same, like, even if I'm doing an open house, it's like, okay, I know who my ideal client is, my ideal buyer client is. I know what zip codes, what school districts, what the most desirable subdivisions are. And then I know exactly what they want for the property type. So then from there, I'm looking, okay, like I know that my ideal client on my reloads are looking for 2,500 plus square feet, 4 plus bedrooms, 2.5 plus bathrooms, sparkling swimming pool, resort style backyard, 3 plus car garage, in that $600 to $1.2 million price point. So that ad, and it's fun. My ads haven't really changed since 2015. The only thing that's really changed is price points. So it's still, like, wow, check out all these homes currently for sale in Peoria, Arizona, featuring sparkling swimming pools, 4 plus bedrooms, 2.5 plus bathrooms, 2,500 plus square feet, 3 plus car garages, all currently listed between 600 and 1.2 million for property info, photos, monthly mortgage payment amounts, and more. Click the learn more button below. And then I just have that image. So this is where you got to know your market. So for me, because in Phoenix, Arizona, we have 2 seasons. You got hot and warm. So your backyard is really an extension of your square footage. So I know that people want, beautiful resort style backyards. So pretty much all my photos are going to be like of a dope friggin' pool, backyard, blue sky, palm trees. It's just what pops, what gets the best click-through rates. And I also want to do that within real, like, okay, if it's a backyard, it's going to represent what they can get between that price point. Like I'm not going to have a backyard of a $5 million, backyard property when I'm running ads. Yeah, it's going to be super nice, maybe on the top end to capture their attention, but I want it to be a realistic representation of what they can get, but that's that attention grabber.
I want to shift the conversation a little bit to investing. I'm curious as to, like you mentioned, the divide between the rich and the poor right now. Middle class is going away. What are you doing to be strategic, offensive in order to not fall under the poor? What are you doing to invest, Josh?
Nothing. Like personally right now, yeah, I am building the hell out of leveraging what EXP is provided to us. So my next immediate goal is, I should be there within about 30 days, is to be adding 150 agents, per month. So I look at that, okay, and I know I don't know if we're allowed to talk a number, with this, but based on okay, what my average per month per agent, rev share is, okay, that will add on average. Now it might take a little time to build up, but that will add on average $7,500 of passive income. Not I shouldn't say passive, nothing. There's no such thing as true passive income, but residual income. To my bottom line, I look at this of like, again, I've never seen a better vehicle. It's like, okay, if I want to go buy an investment property, okay, I got to raise the down payment. I got to raise the money to do the rehab. Then I got to get the tenant in there. And then, to what, maybe cash flow, $400 or $500, or sometimes more. But then like over here, okay, it doesn't cost me a penny. Yeah. Right. I can leverage everything EXP has. But I don't know, at least for me, because I'm not a Grant Cardone, I don't have the funding to go out there and add, 5 or 10 grand a month to passive income every single month to my portfolio. Well, with RevShare, I do. And look, I'm sure there's deals out there. I'm sure they exist. I have some friends that are, I was talking with somebody the other day that's, buying, pretty heavy in like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right. And seeing some great opportunities there. And yeah, I could go out there and hunt for those, but for me right now, I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines and just going all in on this thing. And then, cause look, if you look at this, if you look at historic real estate. Now, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, but there's a few things taking place here. So for the first time in our lifetimes, in a long time, we are now seeing population decline on a massive front. So when you have massive population growth, like we've experienced for, several, thousands of years, hundreds of years, whatever, let's call it hundreds of years with, central banks and banking, in kind of our modern day banking system. Okay, when each generation is bigger than the next generation, okay, you have more people to produce, but more people to consume. So you can get away with a very, very low interest rate environment. Now that's inverted, right? So now human beings, we qualify for the endangered species list, right? So we are like, if you even at the United States, and we have one of the most healthy demographies out of all countries on the planet, but the average couple is having like 1.87 kids, and the average couple needs to be having 2.2 kids just for replacement rate. So we're all way under replacement rate. So population is going to, 100 years from now, we'll probably have half the population on Earth that we see here today. So with that being said, I don't see, just again, for the little bit of brief history I've studied, that we're going to ever see, free money again, or extremely low money. The equation isn't there. So then from there, okay, if you look at historically, because if you look at the trend of like, okay, why real estate's boomed so much over the last, let's just say 40 years, there's a direct, it's like, okay, real estate's booming like this, interest rates are coming down like this, right? So if you look at, okay, let's just say 1980, a home that was, $100,000 at a, 10% interest rate, like that payment was, let's just say $900. Then when you got a $350,000 house, at a 2% interest rate, okay, that payment's only like $1,200, right? So payments, may have only went up 40%, but prices went up like 300 some percent. So now that we're in this higher kind of cost per capital environment, probably for the rest of our lifetimes, well, you can't outprice the locals, right? And again, I don't know. This is just my thought process, right? Is that we're going to go back to, like, I don't know, when we grew up, it's like, dude, like my friends' parents like lived in that house. They owned that house. It was, they didn't go buy something new every 5 years and use their home as a piggy bank. It was a vehicle of shelter, get it paid off, full retirement, then reduce your expenses. And I think we're probably going back to that environment. Because if you look at historically, you take the median household income, times it by about three and a half. That's usually the median price point of a home. Now most areas are double, if not triple that. So I don't know how, and again, I could be wrong. I don't know, but I don't know how the real estate market doesn't need to come down a good 40% nationally. You know, um, to correct. So I think there's going to be a lot of great buying opportunities in the future. And again, I'm sure there's great buying opportunities right now. But the time it takes to go find the deals, scout the deals, for me, I'm just kind of staying in this lane and I'll let the market do its thing. And, I may live to regret it. I don't know, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to see, not in all markets, like what happens in Kentucky might be way different than what happens here in Phoenix, Arizona. But I'm very confident that our market's going to come down tremendously.
Oof. Yeah. Wow. I didn't expect you to take it that way, but that totally like makes a lot of sense. And that's even more so of like the power of now that you have now that you understand like I don't want to make this like super EXP, but now that you understand revenue share. When I first got into EXP and I got like my first rev share check, I was like, this is more than all of my rental properties combined. And maybe it wasn't the first one, like, but a couple after that, I was like, and I like working with people more than I do with toilets and property managers. So I'm like, this is it's rewarding for me and for them. Like I'm helping build their business and like get out of their W-2. Because I remember when I left my W-2s, it was scary. I was ready to go, but I was scared. Um, so that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
know
by
that we
no
qualified.
means and by no means do I am I saying that this should replace, anybody from also investing in real estate or other investment vehicles, right? But it can accelerate it. Like I have a good friend at EXP that I mean, makes anywhere between $300,000 and $400,000 a month in rev share. Now, how can you go out there and spend $300,000, $400,000? I mean, I'm sure some people can figure it out. For me, like I don't care enough about houses and cars. I couldn't spend that money. Okay, that accelerates then my speed to be able to go and then invest in other vehicles. So he's investing in a ton of apartment buildings and a ton of, takes that. So it just can accelerate. Or, like if you think about this, okay, if you can get rev share to cover all your living expenses, and then every single cent that you make in your real estate commissions could be invested in real estate or another vehicle. It just accelerates the path to building wealth.
Absolutely. Is there anything that we haven't asked? Well, I'm sure there's a lot, but anything that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I would just encourage everybody. Look, I know it's tough. I get a lot of people reaching out to me right now that are kind of contemplating maybe getting out of the industry, going to another vehicle. I can say with full certainty that this is the most least risky place to be. Yeah, right. Like when I'm having conversations with people, oh, I'm going to jump back into, I want to go into the corporate world because they feel that there's more security there. And there might temporarily, but like, I mean, look at what's going on, right? I mean, now we're starting to see the beginning phases of mass layoffs. I mean, look at just Microsoft. Microsoft's laying off 10,000 people in the last few months. And, so for anybody that's thinking of that, like just understand, like you're in the best vehicle, you're in the best space. Yeah, do you have to work your ass off? Yes. Like you're probably going to have to work much harder than you ever worked in your career, have to be more focused, more intentional. I don't know anybody in the corporate world that's making good money that isn't working extremely hard too. But there you're just a number, right? Lots of vulnerabilities. It's much more risky there than it is over here. At least our fate is in our own hands. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather work 60 or 80 hours a week building something for myself than slaving away 40, 60 hours a week for another organization where I'm just a number and they don't give a shit about me and my family. So, for anybody that's, maybe having doubts, just understand you're in the right place. But you gotta pick and choose. Like, are you going to make this happen? You going to make this work or not? Because this isn't going to be a quick turnaround. Like real estate, if you look at the average, and we have about 100 years of pretty solid data in real estate, the average market correction is 10 years from peak to valley to correction. The last one was 14 years, right? We peaked in 2005, bottomed out in 2012, took about two till, at least in most markets, 2019 to get back to 2005 prices. So real estate moves slow. So this is the new normal, right? You just got to adapt to it. But in my opinion, this is the best vehicle that any of us could be in.
I agree. And also by this point, super unemployable. Like there's no way I could go back. Um, Okay, Joshua, there's people listening and they're like, dude, I need that guy in my life. I want more of this energy. Where can they find you? What's the best way to connect, etc.?
Yeah, so you guys can email me, Joshua at gsdmode.com. You can find me YouTube, anyone on social media. My YouTube channel is GSD Mode, stands for Get Shit Done Mode. GSD Mode on YouTube. I've got like 3,000 videos out there just with real estate tips and interviews and helping real estate agents. So it's all free, great content. Any social media platform. The only one I'm really not active on is TikTok, which I probably should be, but I can't get into it. But my handle is pretty much Joshua Smith GSD anywhere that you go.
Love it. Joshua, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And listeners, be a bro and share this show.
Yeah. All right. It's been an honor. Thank you guys.
If you're on a 50-50 split, it's time to rethink your brokerage. At eXp, the split is 80-20. And once you cap, you keep 100%. We show you how to get there faster. I'm Ali Garced, or Ali the Agent. My sponsor, Shelby Johnson, and I each close over 40 deals a year. We are full-time agents actively producing, and everyone in our upline is an icon agent. When you name us as a sponsor at eXp, you get full access to all of our systems and checklists and templates, our 200K GCI playbook to help you make 200K your first year, direct mentorship and direct access to us, no huge group calls. We also help agents add another stream of income, which is rev share. We will help you with all the tools and trainings you need to build revenue share that will help you retire early. If you're interested in building an actual business, book a call at theagentgoldmine.com.